You know, every city, town, state, county, they have stuff they have to get rid of from time to time. It might be surplus goods, it might be confiscated items or evidence, or even unclaimed stolen property. Now, I've been to a bunch of these auctions over the years, and I bought a bunch of things too, from cars to TVs and lawnmowers. And I make these videos and I share them with you. But I've also seen some crazy things at these auctions too, like seismograph equipment and cases of baby monitors, cases of laundry detergent, jewelry, watches, household goods, commercial kitchen items. And every time I post one of these videos about these auctions, I get a ton of comments from folks asking about how they can get in on the auction. Do you need to have a dealer's license? Are there any special circumstances? And in this video, I'm going to share with you the auctions that I go to, where I find them, how I find them, the tips and the tricks that I've learned over the years, as well as some pitfalls to avoid. Also, I'm going to show you some of the cars I looked at over the past few days for my buddy Frank, who wants to buy a Crown Victoria here in the United States. He wants to ship it to his hometown in Germany. And I'm going to share with you those cars, the condition they were in, the mileage, some things to look for, as well as what they're selling for. So, let's get started. Look, the very first step in finding out who hosts the public auctions in your area, and this is the hardest part in the whole process, is you got to look, you got to search, you have to put the effort into it. I can't do it for you, but in this case, Google is your best friend. You jump onto the search engine, you type in public auctions or public surplus in your area and see what turns up. And there's a ton of auction houses out there, so I can almost guarantee you that whoever you find that does the public auctions for your city will be a different company for your state or your county or your town. As a for instance, here in Delaware, US GovBid handles the public auctions for the state of Delaware. The county, Newcastle County that I live in, is handled through GovDeals, and the city of Wilmington, which is just a few minutes up the road here, is done through Public Surplus. So no matter what you find for your town and city, you got to keep looking, you got to keep searching to find out who does the other communities in your area. Now, once you've found the auction sites for your area, you'll need to register as a bidder, of course, and provide your contact information. It takes just a few minutes, but once you're done, man, now you got the golden ticket. You can log in and you can select the auction you want to look at, view the auction items, the current bid, number of bidders, and some picks too. The description that you get with US GovBid, man, it's always sketchy, so be careful with that. The vehicles are always listed as being in questionable condition. Even though US GovBid started charging a one-time $100 registration fee, they still seem to have the lowest auction fees out there, at least on the higher dollar purchases. There's no buyer's premium that the others charge, but they're also pretty limited on how you can pay when you win the auction. You have to either wire the money, which will include a $60 processing fee, and that just recently went up from $30, or you have to overnight a cashier's check. Either way, it's a hassle, and it involves your bank too. Also, if you do a wire transfer, you have to know that your bank is going to charge you a wire transfer fee, which is somewhere around $30 also. So that $10 pair of jack stands that you just won at the auction, now it's going to cost you $100 once you include all the fees too. But if you're buying a $3,200 Chevy Tahoe like I did over the summer, well, you're still capped at $90 in fees, which comes out to a little less than 3%. Also, on the US GovBid website, you can search past auctions going back years, and that way you can get the historical selling prices on everything that they've sold. I find US GovBid to be a small player in the government auctions. GovDeals, on the other hand, is the big dog in the game. These guys seem to be all over the country and in every state. Their website is huge, and it seems to list everything you can think of. Their search engine and filtering is super robust, and it makes it easy to find whatever you're looking for, and registration is at no cost too. There is, however, a buyer's premium, which is added to the final bid amount. That premium is different for each municipality, and I've seen the premium as low as 5% and as high as 12.5%. So be aware of that when bidding. I find the item description on GovBids to be really on point and helpful. It seems like a lot of effort goes into writing a pretty thorough and helpful description, and that's a big bonus. I've inspected cars on GovDeals that looked great in person and inspected well, but the item description online made it out to be much worse than it really was. GovDeals lets you do keyword searches if you're looking for something particular, and you can look up past auctions as well. GovDeals also has their own customer service folks on duty 7 days a week, which is nice if there's ever a problem with registering or bidding. When winning an auction on GovDeals, paying is super easy too. You can use PayPal or a credit card, so there's no added fees there. Generally, I like GovDeals and I like how it's set up, but because it's so big, it can also be a little overwhelming if you're not focused on looking for a particular item. Now, Public Surplus seems to be the middle ground between the other two auction sites, both in size and how easy it is to use. They don't have as many vehicles as the others, though, and they seem to be more focused on other surplus items. Their search feature is pretty easy to use, either by keyword or zip code radius. They call their vehicles motor pools, so look for that when doing a search for vehicles. Whenever the bidding on an item exceeds $500, they place a hold on your credit card for a portion of the bid. Paying is easy through credit cards, and they also have a $4,000 limit on credit card purchases, so know that. So no matter what auction site you use, you got to do your homework before you even consider placing a bid on one of these cars. And that means you got to get off your rump, you got to make a phone call, schedule an appointment, and do a physical inspection of the property. Now, I've seen ads on these auction sites that showed great photos of cars and a great description as well, and when I went and looked at the car in person, it was a mess. One car, for instance, read good and looked good online, and when I went there to look at it, I could smell that car way before I got close enough to even look in the windows, and I later determined that it was a former canine car. You also need to consider the terms and conditions of getting the property off the auction lot as well. Some places I get 7 days to get the car off the lot, other places 2, so you need to know that going into it. Also, consider how you're going to legally remove the car out of the lot. For instance, when I buy from the state of Delaware, I'm able to buy a temporary tag for $20, and that gives me a 60 days period of driving the car before I have to legally and officially get it registered. Other places you may have to get it towed, so know that before going into it. Now, in Frank's case, he was looking for a Crown Vic to import into Germany, and because of transportation costs to the port, shipping across the ocean, import fees, registration, and other costs, he wasn't able to pay full retail, which meant he was looking at auction cars. So I jumped onto the 3 different websites here, and I found 5 Crown Vics on Gov Deals. 4 of them were in a little seaside town in New Jersey, about an hour and a half away from here. 1 was in Newcastle County here, and I took a look at those cars, and let me show you what I found. New Jersey is about 10 minutes from my house. You have to cross over the Delaware River. Yeah, that same river George Washington crossed on Christmas night in 1776. But this part of New Jersey is completely different than the New Jersey you may know of around New York City. This part of New Jersey, well, what locals call South Jersey, is like going back in time. It's like a time machine. It's filled with small towns and produce fields, orchards, roadside produce stands, and farms. The gas stations have attendants that pump your gas for you. There's Wawas everywhere, wild turkeys hanging out by the road too. Now, Avalon is about an hour and a half from me, sits right on the Atlantic Ocean, and is about 30 minutes south of Atlantic City. Once you cross over the Intercoastal Waterway, you're on the Barrier Islands and in Avalon. It's a quiet residential town, definitely upscale, and the town is maybe 2 or 3 miles long total. When I got to the Public Works Department, they had 2 Vics sitting in the lot. The first was a sand color that I'm told was the captain's car. She's a 2003, had modest miles on her at 108,000. But as soon as I got close, I could see a long scratch on the driver's side door and rust in the front fender, which I guess is something I should have expected being right on the ocean. The interior was pretty well cared for. It had carpeting, no holes in the dash too. The driver's seat was really surprising, and it was thick and full, probably the most comfortable P71 seat I've ever sat in. The AC was good, the power steering whined a bit, and it even had the engine cover still on, that 4.6 liter. With only a few hours left on the auction, this car had 4 bidders chasing after it, and the high bid was stalled at $450. The second car right behind it was an Oreo. It looked like it was a good auction car in the listings, but up close there was rust, sticker shadows, scratches all over the trunk lid and rear bumper. The front bumper was crazed from getting in a bump. The interior was filthy, but acceptable. There was a vinyl back seat, a working spotlight. It had 153,000 miles, 4,700 idle hours. This car had 6 bidders chasing after it, and with only a few hours left, bidding was at $625. For the other 2 cars, I was taken down to a second lot down the street, and really those 2 cars were junk. Neither started. I was told one needed a fuel pump. The other needed a starter. Rust was everywhere. The interiors were a mess. I was surprised that one of the cars had the 7-hole steel wheels still on it, as I thought they were recalled on all the P71 models. But really, these cars to me, they were nothing more than parts cars at best. And bidding reflected that, as they were both only in the high 300 range, with a few hours left in the auction. There were 2 other P71s on the lot that were going to be in the upcoming auctions, but really they were in no better condition. The 5th car, the one from Newcastle County, was about 15 minutes from my house and actually looked really good. The paint was bright and shiny. The bumper was clean with no cracks, but it did have some crazing on the right side. Some minor paint chips on the front fender. The hood and door gaps all looked good. There was some paint shadows that looked like they'd buff off. Inside and in the rear was a partition and a rear seat that was molded plastic. It had cruise control. The dash was filled with holes, and there was a pedestal mount on the floor for the laptop. Mileage was modest at 118,000, but idle hours were surprising at 6,100. The engine sounded good, the intake had been replaced, and the body looked clean and straight. That rear dog leg, however, will need to get cleaned up before winter sets in this year. What's cool is that every car in this lot will be listed for auction in the coming weeks, so there's plenty of variety and options here in the future. This white car had 1 bidder chasing after it, and it sold for $650. While inspecting these cars, though, I got to meet the supervisor of the maintenance department, who was very open with sharing what he knows about these cars, and some of the others too. In fact, this lot and this auction might just be my new honey hole for future cars. So I showed those cars in those videos with Frank in Germany, and they just weren't in good enough condition to spend the time and the money and the effort to ship to Europe. However, for the local market, there were some good deals there. And that's exactly what the value is with these auctions. There's some really nice values, some nice bargains to be had, but you got to be smart and intelligent and purposeful with what you're doing and what you're buying. So I hope this video helps you. I hope it gives you some guidance and some insight into these auctions and what some of these cars sell for. I hope you liked it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and as always, thanks so much for watching.